thing on the agenda, I have a proclamation to be read. We have any school teachers in the house? I don't see one. It came to our attention that this is a day, week, month celebrating school teachers. It's World Teachers Day today. And so I'm going to read this and we'll go to the city secretary who will see that school teachers get it or something. Anyway, whereas City of Rockport's future strength depends on providing a high-quality education to all students, and whereas teacher quality matters more to student achievement than any other school-related factor, and whereas teachers spend countless hours preparing lesson plans and supporting students, and whereas our Rockport-Fulton Independent School District teachers have demonstrated great resilience, adaptability, and creativity during the COVID-19 crisis, and whereas our community recognizes and supports its teachers in education and educating the children of this community, and whereas Teachers Can is a statewide movement supported by more than 150 partnering businesses and organizations committed to elevating the teaching profession and honoring the critical role teachers play in the success of Texas. Now therefore is proclaimed that Rockport City Council joins Teachers Can and its partnering entities across Texas in celebrating World Teachers Day and proclaiming October 5th, 2023 to be World Teachers Day in Rockport, Texas, and encourages members of our community to personally express appreciation to our teachers and display a light blue ribbon outside your homes or businesses the week of October 5th as a symbol of support for our educators. In witness whereof I have hereunto set my hand and caused the great seal of the city of Rockport, Texas to be affixed this 26th day of September 2023. We will get this to the school teachers. Next on the agenda is citizens to be heard. At this time, comments limited to 3 minutes to be taken from the audience from persons who have signed a speaker's card located at the table in the back of the training room of the service center and delivered to the city secretary before the meeting begins, or written comments received by 4 p.m. on the day of the meeting on any agenda item or any subject matter will be read at the meeting. Persons wishing to address the council and who have registered using the citizen participation form will have up to 3 minutes to speak. In accordance with the Open Meetings Act, council may not discuss or take any action on any item that has not been posted on the agenda. While civil public criticism is not prohibited, disorderly conduct or disturbance of the peace as prohibited by law shall be caused for the chair to terminate the offender's time to speak. Before we do that and get around to action items, we'll establish the we have the forum. I looked down there and missing somebody, and I got out of that. Ward 1, not present. Ward 2? Here. Ward 3? Here. Ward 4? Here. Mayor here. We do have the forum present. I have 2 forms filled out. First one I've got is from Mr. Ken Barron. If you come up to the microphone, give your name and address. You got 3 minutes, sir.
My name is Ken Barron. I live at 402 Cascades in the Country Club, and I'm here to talk about the same thing I always come for, and that's to get money to resolve the flooding problems within the Country Club. I understand there's no capital money available to work on any projects, but the projects I'm proposing have nothing to do with installing any new piping at all. It has to do with cutting holes in existing piping to let the floodwaters into the pipe and out of the Country Club. That should be considered maintenance. I understand there's approximately $200,000 being budgeted for storm drainage within the city, and we'd like to have our share of that in order to resolve our problems. Now, we have completed one project on Hole 11 for about $800,000, and we appreciate the city spending money on that. But by itself, it does very little to resolve any of the flooding issues. We had no flooding of any houses by Hole 11, and there was no major flooding issues around Hole 11. What the project of Hole 11 does was allow us to drain areas that flooded upstream of Hole 11. And we need, one of the projects we need to do is cut a hole in 27-inch pipe associated with Hole 13 pond and let the water out of Hole 13 pond. That 27-inch pipe currently operates at 20% of capacity. We have a similar issue at Hole 17, which floods badly. There's a 27-inch pipe there. We want to cut a hole into that, let the water into that pipe so it drains to the pond at hole 11. And then, after we do those two projects, the project that was just completed will actually be beneficial. But until those two projects are completed, that $800,000 does nothing to resolve any of our flooding issues. And in addition to that, we would need to spend some money on cutting a bigger hole into the entrance box on hole 10 where it feeds the 48-inch pipe that drains the country club. That 48-inch pipe operates at 50% of capacity because the opening in that box is just not big enough. We just need to cut a bigger hole in the box. These are not capital issues. They should be considered maintenance issues, and there's no reason we can't proceed with those issues as soon as the money is budgeted for that $200,000 is budgeted this year. So I'm requesting that you please complete the job that you started. Make use of the $800,000 that we've spent, because we don't need to spend a lot more to actually make the whole thing work properly and get rid of our flooding issue. So please consider issuing or authorizing the money for those three projects. And you have write-ups on what those projects entail from previous submittals.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
Also have a card from John McDavid related to drainage on Orleans Street in the general vicinity there.
Really just wanted to get an update more than anything about a forgotten area of town, which is the old part of Rockport that's probably been, thank God for Guerrero coming along and cleaning up what they could. And then we have now the problem of, I assume, trying to figure out where the boxes are sealed and everything else, and so the extension in dealing with the bonding company. But as an old time resident, we lived in that house for all my life, basically, in that area. The dust and everything, I'm representing everybody on the street from Orleans Street to Magnolia, that it's just a frustrating deal of what we're doing with our property, because time you paint, do anything, swimming pools, everything, as cars pass by, y'all have done a pretty good job of slowing traffic down finally in that area, but not everybody pays attention to it. But the other thing is a concern is the dust and all that stuff, and what could be done, or whether there could be a temporary fix of a mix that could be applied that would, the bonding company would allow to stick with either some cement or tar, but without spending a ton of money. But the drainage part, I know that if we have the piping or concrete underneath all that area now, and I keep thinking about what if we get a major flood? And I know it's not, we're getting out of storm season, weird things happen all the time. But if there'd be any way, even though it wouldn't fit exactly, and we'd have some leaks in those concrete connections, but if the connection could be made to the ski basin or where we're going to punch a hole through, which I think we have permission to do that now. But if that could be done, at least we wouldn't flood the Presbyterian Church over again, our homes and stuff like that, but we know get flooded in that area. And if we get a major one, it will happen, that's for sure. But that's a thought, whether something could be talked to the bonding company, say, let's just don't cause any more problems. If that's been permitted, then maybe they could take that as a separate deal and fund some money for that. So anyway, just an update. Thank y'all.
Thank you
for trying.
Appreciate it.
Mayor, I'll have an update on that in my city manager's report.
Okay, great. I had told you that would be coming up.
Okay.
Next on the agenda is consent agenda. All consent agenda items listed are considered to be routine by the city council and being enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless the council member so requests, in which event the item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered in its normal sequence on the agenda. Anyone wish to remove any item from the consent agenda?
I'd like to remove number 6, please.
Number 6. Okay, any other one? All right.
I move to approve the consent agenda with item number 6 being removed.
I've got a second.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further questions on that? Now we'll call for a vote. Ward 2.
Aye.
Ward 3.
Aye.
Ward 4.
Aye.
Mayor, aye. Item number 6. Deliberate and act on utility service agreement by and between the city of Rockport and Metropole LLC regarding property located at 2582 Farm Market 1069, also known as Lucas Ranch, Block 2, lots 1 and 2, and north one half of lot 16 and 17, part of lot 18 being 88.01 acres, city of Rockport, Aransas County, Texas, to include pro rata fees for living unit equivalent LUE for water and wastewater services.
So, Mayor and Council, I don't know, this might be the first development agreement you guys have seen in front of you. This is something new we're doing. If you bring in a new development into the city, you're gonna have to have a development agreement. I think we can only do them out. Is this utility only? Yeah. If you're doing a new development inside the city, you're gonna have to have a utilities agreement. That gives you a reservation of your water and wastewater capacity, so that we have an accurate count and we can't sell your space to someone else. So that's one of the major things. We typically in the past have just done a pro rata agreement so that the developer then could get repaid for extra or upsized lines that they put in. That is also in this agreement. And then anything else we ask for from a developer, you will see come to you in a utility agreement, a development agreement, or a special use agreement. But any development coming through is now going to have one of these documents. Be happy to answer questions.
I think you pretty well answered my question. I just wanted to, since this was the first one, be sure that we were talking about it. My understanding is this one's outside city limits, unless I looked at it wrong on the map.
Same, it is, okay.
Okay.
Same concept. If you want our sewer and water, we're gonna need you to reserve your space. We're only gonna reserve it for 7, 10 years, whatever we negotiate. And then if you haven't developed at the end of that time frame, we have the right to give your space away. So that puts a timeline on a developer, and it gives us the ability to space out our upgrades and things like that.
Okay, no, I'm good with that. I just wanted to make sure this is in alignment with what we've been discussing for our path forward.
So this one kind of was before we started on our new path. I think our LUE fees are agreed upon in here. They are, of course, going to have a lower rate. I know we've been talking about doing some donations and things like that, but this has been in the queue for a while. Carrie, you've been negotiating it for 7 months. So we go back and forth and negotiate all of the things in here, and then, of course, it's reviewed by legal before it comes to you. But you will be seeing these for every development that comes in going forward.
No, I think I'm probably taking up more time than I probably should, but so since this was in queue, this doesn't have the developer fee, but is the unit price what we just approved?
So you have not approved a new unit price on this, if I'm
probably saying it the wrong way.
right. So we just approved a contract to redo our impact fees, but that is about a 6, 8 or longer month process. So we've started that process, but there has to be a committee, which will be the Planning and Zoning Committee. That's not even been, those numbers have not been revised.
Right, okay, so that's on the impact side. I thought we just approved a new, I'm calling it a tie-in rate. It's not the right word.
Tap rate, tap fees.
Tap fees. So does this include the new fees?
Are
that
there
we
fees?
approved?
It's already done.
We had their fees
That's all
set.
pre-tapped, so that was completed before we approved the
Okay.
fees.
This was agreed to
Okay,
before
I
that.
just want to make sure we were on the same page on that. Thank you.
This one, is it a 20-year? Is it 10?
It should only be,
Okay, I thought it was 20 years.
I don't think we'll ever do more than 10 on a reservation of LUEs.
Okay, I'm good with that. I just wanted, for some reason I thought it was 20, but I'll get back to it now. I'm good with that.
Any other questions?
I'll make a motion to approve agenda item number 6 as presented.
Motion to have a second.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further questions? Now we'll call for the vote. Ward 2,
Aye.
Ward 3,
Aye.
Ward 4.
Aye.
Mayor, ayes, unanimous. On to the regular agenda, item number 24, deliberate and act on second final reading of an ordinance granting conditional use permit for the purpose of bringing the existing RV park into compliance with current city codes and to remodel existing features in the RV park on property located at 1331 State Highway 188, also known as Lot 1R and 2, Coastal Paradise Subdivision, 17.989 acres, City of Rockport, Aransas County, Texas, subject to compliance with the conditions stipulated within the ordinance as well as those stipulated in the City of Rockport Code of Ordinances, repealing all ordinances in conflict therewith, and providing for severability and providing for an effective date.
Nothing has changed. This is the second reading for their code.
Anyone have a question? If not, do I have a motion?
Mayor, I move to approve item 24 as presented.
Do I have a second? I'll second. Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Just like to state again, really appreciate this group coming in and trying to come in compliance with our codes. Because they really, I guess they didn't have to. Well, I guess they had to. But they're trying to do everything correctly, and they're actually minimizing some of their spaces. So it's I think they're doing a good job. So,
Any other questions or statements? Sorry. Call for the vote. Or two?
Aye.
Or three?
Aye.
Or four?
Aye.
Mayor, aye. Unanimous. All right. Look down here and start reading the next one. All right.
He's
Next
ready.
item on the agenda.
Yeah, he's ready to go.
Yes, deliberate and amend the City of Rockport Code of Ordinances, Chapter 102, Article 102-401, surcharge to increase the $1.35 surcharge.
Yes, again, reiterate, this is not an ordinance, this is just a discussion item. This has to do with the utility bill surcharge. It's also shown as a fire fund on the utility bills. These monies, these are voluntarily collected, from the utility customers, and they're distributed to the three Aransas County Fire departments at the end of each year, being Rockport Volunteer Fire Department, Fulton Volunteer Fire Department, and the Lamar Volunteer Fire Department. Skipping the history of it, right now we are charging $1.35 for single unit customers. We're charging $1.35 for each on each bill for metered service, and then for multi-unit customers and wholesale customers, there's a charge of $1.35 for each meter connection plus 27 cents for each additional space. There are participants right now. There's about 9,050 single unit customers, 500 multi-unit customers, and 0 wholesale customers participating. In the fiscal analysis section, it shows what a 1% increase would generate, 5% increase, and 10% increase, what it would generate respectively if we wanted to pursue this. And again, this is just a discussion item at this point. I know there had been some talk about possibly putting up where you would go right in on your bill and maybe collect an additional amount. That would be problematic with our receivables. And we do accept checks. People do donate monies periodically, and we do accept checks. They could write a check or pay extra, maybe whenever they paid their bill, if they so chose to do so. But just writing it on there and mailing it in, it would mess up our receivables.
So Robbie, my question is on the breakdown of fiscal analysis where we've got the fiscal year 21-22 actual, and then the breakout of what it would be for additional revenues for 1%, 5%, and 10%. This is based on the current participants, assuming they would accept an increase, or total opportunity?
It'd be on the same folks at this point. Yes,
Okay.
assuming everything's stagnant. Good question.
And I should have said this ahead of time to let y'all prepare, but what's going on with the wholesale users? Why are none of them, or wholesale customers, why are none of them participating? Do we have any idea?
It's voluntary. They can opt out. They're
So
all-
the wholesale service provider is opting out on behalf of all of their customers, is that?
That would be right. We don't individually meter those, so we don't have an opportunity to charge the individuals.
Okay.
You want us to make a phone call?
Yeah, I know that at least one of the systems has recently sold, so at least having that conversation with them. Of course, I'm hearing some scuttlebutt about, citizens generally not being happy just because I have property in that area. But I don't know about the others. I think it's definitely warrants a phone call. At this point, essentially, they're all getting free fire protection.
Got it.
And I don't know that the residents know that this is an option that they have. Even a 10% increase, this is a $18,000, less than $18,000 discussion across all our users. It's really not going to make any significant differences, but if we could bring on the wholesale users, it might make a little bit difference. Brad, I know you've got some opinions on this.
Yeah, always. No, I agree that I didn't realize the wholesale customers were not participating in whatsoever. So that would bring in quite a few taps that are out there that can participate. I don't know that it makes that big a difference in the
I think we'll run into the same problem on billing.
billing. We couldn't just.
They would have to collect it and then
They would have
remit it to
collect
us.
and-
Okay,
So they may be charging an annual fire fee or something. This
we'll figure it out.
discussion. We're getting a hell of a deal for what we pay for our fire fund, our fire protection with the local volunteer fire departments. If we were, as city manager, police chief, well, two police chiefs in here, the fire department doesn't really generate income for the city. And so we're getting a hell of a deal. Whatever we can do to help support those three entities. $1.35 hasn't changed since it was 2006.
2010?
10.
I think.
Yeah.
Yes, 2010.
2010.
August of 10.
So I know their cost to operate everything has gone up, just like everyone else in the room. And we haven't kept up with it. So whatever we can do to continue to assist them without having a detrimental tax, ESD coming to us or something like that, that would be a whole lot more than what we're paying for $1.35. Even if we made it $5, an ESD tax would be significant.
We haven't even kept up even close with inflation for
No,
these guys.
yes, with inflation, like
It's,
easy.
what, 13 years since an increase? All right, is it crazy to propose something more than 10%?
Nope.
20, 30?
You know-
What's the worst, they get to voluntarily participate, and they have the right to say no.
Right. So the only thing is you run the risk that you get it so high that
That they don't participate.
they don't participate. But I think most rational people understand that they're getting a good deal. So we just gave you some options. You give us direction, we'll make it happen.
I think a lot of people don't realize we function with a totally volunteer fire department. All around the county, the entire county requires, or does require, they are fortunate to have these people. And if you wanted to see something that would have a tremendous impact on the budget for this city and the county, you let everybody start paying for paid fire department. And that would be a tremendous burden on people. I have talked to folks that have moved here in the last 3 or 4 years who are amazed when they find out we have a total volunteer fire department. And we owe those people a whole lot, every one of them. But there needs to be a way that we see that they are well enough funded that they can function without having to worry about increasing costs and so forth. And anything we can do to get that donation rate up will be a benefit to them. We need to advertise to the people. You really don't realize what these people are doing for you. We can do that. We owe those folks a lot. We need to find a way to support them.
Is there a way to reach out to Rockport, Portland, and Lamar and see what additional needs, or what number that would work for them? I'm sure anything, but are they operating within their means right now? Or are they cash strapped at the end of the year?
I may, it's not for operations, it's really just to help with
It's for
capital
capital
purchases.
only.
Yes, I'm
So,
sorry.
okay.
I should have.
Trucks aren't cheap either.
Well, fire department is always gonna need a new truck for anything. They're never gonna have enough money. So I think that we push out a did you know on fire. We ask for one-time donations at the water department, and then you guys also push up the fee surcharge, excuse me. And, you know, we can promote them a little better than we have in the past, and I think that'll be a big deal for us. I think that's something we need to do that could potentially bring in more donations. As far as the fee, we just have to find the balance. We don't know what the right number is. Nobody can tell you.
You know, when we do the check presentation, I believe that's in October for the preceding year, if I remember correctly. You know, maybe we can ask them to come spend a couple more minutes to do a presentation of what their needs are and what this will go to. I'm good with moving forward on the 10%. I'm not a big fan of using percentages. You know, let's use real numbers for people. It's $1.35. Now it's going to be $1.
Just
Whatever.
make it $2.
Yeah, I mean, 10% is scary to anybody when they hear that
Right.
word.
But when it's
the
on
phrase,
$1.35.
And then you're like, it's, you know, however many pennies.
4 cents.
I was trying to do my hacking math, and I was like, no, danger, don't do that, it's not public. And then we also have the newsletter mailer that we do, quarterly or bi-monthly with the water bills.
We haven't done that since Vicky's been gone. Since Vicky's been gone, we don't have anybody to do that.
Like how many years?
Yeah, it's been, yeah, that hasn't been done in a
A
while.
couple of years.
Yeah.
We do occasionally do mailers. I'm more than happy to put something in regarding the fire department.
Do you want a number today? As far
Nope.
as what-
You asked for discussion,
Yes, ma'am.
and so we're just asking for direction. And if you want to hold off, talk to the fire department, get some feedback, I'm happy with that. If you want to propose a number, he'll bring you back an ordinance. You tell me.
I think we've talked about it too much. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm good with
So
starting
let's
with
get a number going.
$2. If we just start with $2 and see where that takes us for a year.
That's what I was gonna say, I like your idea of just having $2, because then it just scare people
That's
more
fine.
than anything, so separate.
And we'll just make an effort to make it part of the budget process to review this every year. Robbie, note. And make sure it doesn't go another 10 years before it's looked at again.
I think that'd be great.
Well, then,
That's way too long.
for item number 25,
It's just,
Don't do anything.
$2.
Sounds good?
Yes, sir.
Bring back an ordinance for it.
Done.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 26, city manager report.
Okay, a couple of things. You just approved not to have a first meeting in October, so you will have your first meeting in October will be the 24th.
it's 26 is the
26.
We skipped 26.
Excuse me, 26th?
Let's get me over.
He skipped 26.
Item 26, we're not to rescind it.
I'm sorry.
He skipped item 26.
Item 26 is my
No, it should be discussion of roads affected by the general land office.
discussion of what?
The roads affected by general land office drainage project.
That should be number 29. Nope. Okay, I don't have a 26 on mine is city manager report. Go ahead.
Is it not? Interesting.
Version that was published online.
It's on the same as mine too,
The
so.
one that was online was discussion regarding roads affected by the
We need to go with the one that was online.
Online.
This is the one that was online.
Okay.
Okay. Online, read it.
All right. Item 26, discussion regarding roads affected by the general land office drainage project.
See, that's what happens when a council member adds something at the last empty second.
You know, I feel it and I see it. All right,
It's
so.
been admonished twice now.
Yeah. Mayor, I added this late, I'll go ahead and take full responsibility for that. All the roads affected by the GOO projects include Sabinal, Orleans, Magnolia, James, Hackberry. Anyway, there's some in Ward 1 and Ward 2. I'm sorry, Ward 1 and Ward 3. And continue to get concerns from the citizens about the roads. Right now, they're essentially just road base, and as dry as it's been, it's just a dirt road. And no matter what we do, watering it lasts a day or so until right now with the drought we're in, that turns to dust again. And trying to do something for the citizens on those roads, with the city and everything, trying to help some way. We just don't have a lot at the end of the tunnel yet as far as when this project's going to end. So my thought would be to do as cost-effective chip seal as we could to the roads, benefit of one layer of aggregate with some oil to knock down on the dust and whatnot. Do we have a cost for that yet?
Yeah, can I speak to that a little bit?
Yes,
It's not going to be in favor of what you're saying, and I'm not trying to contradict you, I'm just going to give you what we've got.
Come on.
So we talked about doing a chip seal on that. It's not properly prepped to do a chip seal, but to lay it down would be about $40,000. We're estimating about another $40,000 to rip it up when it comes time to do it. The bigger problem is it may last a month. That's what they're estimating it would give us if we just went and laid chip seal as is. It may not stick. It's most likely going to be on the vehicles. That'll be the best place for it to stick. The county is done doing chip seal today. They can get to us next spring. One of our bigger issues is that I have with the attorney on the project is if we do some type of temporary fix, concrete or chip seal, are we interfering with the project and do we lose our tender agreement? And how does that affect the negotiations with the insurance company? The two big things I think need to be relayed on this project is we have very little control over it. We negotiate, we get information back, but as far as how fast it moves or how slow it moves, most of it isn't in our control. With the latent defects, Merchants has proven that they're going to wait till the last minute before filing a court date to make a decision or to allow for anything. So I don't think there's anything we can do to speed that up. We do have a good fix. We should be submitted it by the end of this week. However, work is continuing on the project. They're working over behind the church. And now that Concho is finished, Guerra has moved their second crew over. So we right now have 2 full crews working on the project. I realize that they're not in the visible street. They're not in Orleans. They're not in some of the Hackberry, some of those. They are working on the project every day. It's crap. We're all in a crap position. I don't have any other way to say it. Sorry.
It's not good.
Do not write that in the paper, Mike.
He's already done, wrote it down.
I know, he's got it on the,
Messy, Mike, we're messy.
but no, just spell my name right. We are all in a horrible position here, and to have our citizens in such a mess and to be completely helpless as to what can be done for them is probably the worst feeling I know that I could have, that you guys could have. Our job is to protect them. I know Mike, nobody wants it done more than Mike, except maybe, the people living there, but we are working on the project. We are doing everything we can. We ding dong people every single day. We call people, we email people. Can we run the water truck twice a week? We can ask Guerra. At the end of the day, it's only going to be money, but we don't know what we can recoup of it is the bigger issue, because we don't have any money left for it. So we got to be able to get some of it back. That's my sad story. And I'll answer any questions.
We're still at square one, you know,
We're no farther than we were when I started my spiel.
18 months ago.
Incorrect. 18 months ago, nothing was happening.
Oh, well, true. True.
Y'all are at a dead standstill. We are
Yeah.
moving, there is progress, there's a signed agreement.
So with Gara continuing on the project right now, but we don't have an agreement on repairing the latent defects.
There's two options for the latent defects: rip the boxes out or put in a spray sealant. You know, I maintained this whole time that we would rather have it done right than have it done now. The way to do it right is to rip the boxes out, but how much disruption is that going to cause? So we're investigating a new product and one that our engineer is pretty confident in. The only thing is we just have to make sure it's going to take shifting on the joints, and if ripping them out is how it gets done right, this drainage is too important. It's too important to let it go half cocked or half,
Yeah.
you know.
I want it to be right. I don't want it, you can get cheap, cheap faster and quick, or cheap faster, whatever it is, but, I want it done right.
Well, we're past fast, so
Yeah,
let's
we're
get it
past
right.
fast, and it's not cheap.
Yeah.
So,
It's more important to me that it be done right, because ultimately, as bad as it is now, when it floods, if that stuff doesn't work,
yeah.
you're gonna be madder than you are now.
We messed up your road for 2 years and it didn't work.
And it didn't work, right. So we continually take arrows for our mismanagement of the project that we don't have control of. It will get worse if we don't do it. So as slow as it may go, I am intent on it being done right.
Well, the only thing I'd add, Councilman Durant, is, you know, is my background in dealing with federal disaster recovery funding. We're not behind schedule in the grand scheme of things for some of these large infrastructure projects. We were well ahead, I think, in the aspects with the GLO for these big drainage projects, and we had a lot to be proud of. It's disappointing, obviously, we're at where we're at, but there are communities in and around our area that still haven't even started some of their projects that were related to Harvey. And, you know, we're at 6 years post-storm. It's not an excuse for it, but it's just the process. You know, Mr. McDavid and the other neighbors, it is exceptionally unfortunate. I mean, I've got friends that live in that area and love to complain as well, and I give them your cell phone number, because I like it that much, right? But it is unfortunate, but, you know, I know Vanessa's made progress. But I don't think throwing additional money on a chip seal makes sense when it's not going to solve the problem and make a bigger mess, potentially. I defer to you, it's your area.
I don't know, I don't have the answers.
I will say that it's probably helpful that we do these updates though. We ask these things just to have you guys out there saying what you are doing, what is not or can be done.
So
I'm sure it's frustrating when they're not knowing the whole story. So.
Right. I had done an every other week kind of update until construction started, then I quit, and then I got a massive outcry, so I'm starting those again. It probably will be more bullet points. I'll do something more extensive at the council meetings, but communicating it seems to be, I don't want to say good enough, but at least we're communicating, and that's satisfactory to a large group of people. And so I'll continue to send out the emails. Anybody that's not on the list, send me an email. I'll put you on the list. I think we have about 30 people on there now. So I'll send that out every Friday when I do y'all's update. I haven't added y'all to it, but I will. Put council on it. And we're going to continue to push. You know, the bigger part of the temporary fix that I would advise you not making a decision on is until we find out if we're going to mess up the tender agreement.
I don't want to hurt the tender agreement.
All of our money is wrapped up in that, and so I would advise you to not do anything until we find that out. And it's going to take a little bit of time for Roxy to dig through that.
I don't want to harm that. process, because I don't want to be on the hook for the.
Then I'll give them your cell phone number.
Yeah. Okay.
So we'll continue to communicate. Ryan and I are gonna make a trip out. I would say we could hold an open house or whatever, but, you know, we get the complaints anyway. You know, an open forum to complain might make people feel better, but it's not gonna change the project. But I'll be on the street, I'm always available. Anybody's welcome in my office anytime, we'll discuss it. And if somebody has a good idea, I'm down. Come on. Come.
Oh, I was gonna, what about the other part, which I agree, I mean, I understand your position, I think everybody, just the communications. But what, I do think we do have a base right now, which is not perfect, but concrete is underneath there. So if we did get a flood, it would flow somewhere. Right now, it won't flow anywhere. Was in the original project anything allowed to complete to the bay out there? So if it did, we got this massive 6-inch rain or whatever, it may blow up through the cracks, big deal, but basically most of the water would go out
Right.
versus flood the community.
I'm not an expert, but I believe they did the tie-ins so that water would flow with the initial contractor. I think that's kind of where they started.
It stops right now.
It stops where?
It stops at 35. There's a 10 by 10 box at 35.
That connects to nothing? I'll move them straight to it. I'll move them to that. I mean,
Okay,
that only makes sense.
That part, I think if we have to wait a long time, if we have an emergency, because I think people really worry more about just the flooding that would take place. If we can put up with the dust, I mean, I hate to say it, but that's the least priority at that point.
I'm gonna have to look into it, but I'll make sure that we are prioritizing the outfall connection.
The outfall right now, I believe, but I would add, defer to Ryan, obviously, is I believe it stops at Orleans and Patton, P-A-T-T-O, right now. And that's right before it gets to, at the Charter Bank.
Yep,
The Charter Bank, you know, the Johnson House,
got it.
is where it stops.
I'll find out. There'll be an update in my Friday email.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
The last thing I'd say is, speaking with the residents, the main thing I've said is I hate throwing good money after bad, and the chip seal is the cheapest thing to do, but if it's not gonna work, it's not gonna work.
Well, first of all, the county's not gonna do it till next spring.
County's not gonna do it, and, I mean, I'd have to pay and borrow.
I don't know
from
how
the
much
county.
you'd have to, yeah.
And, I mean, you did give me a sick note to miss work, so.
You wanna miss work, I'll handle it. But the general belief is that it will not work and it will cause more problems for your residents. And we certainly don't wanna do that.
No. Okay.
John, I would tell you that there's not anybody sitting up here that doesn't understand how upset y'all are, and we don't blame you a bit, and we are very apologetic. I wish we had something we could do about it.
I think the updates, and I think it was going real good until, as I say, it looks like everything's being worked on, as you mentioned, and that's great. Then it's sort of a side, which I think then that stirred up the streets and everything, like what's going on and everything, but I think what they really worry about is this flood mess. And I hope to God we get through hurricane season without anything happening, but if that could, anything they can move to punch a hole, at least, like, if it comes up and blows up through the cracks, big deal, but most of it go the direction of the bay at that point in time.
Yes, sir.
Thank you
Excellent
very
point.
much. Okay.
Thank you.
The other number 26,
I'm sorry?
the other number 26.
I'll know everything I know. No. The STR, the short-term rental ordinance is done. I've sent it to all of you for feedback. I've gotten some from a few of you. I've also sent it to the short-term rental council, I believe, and we've gotten feedback with them. We are probably close to done on incorporating their comments and any other comments that we think are doable or relevant. Do you guys want to do a 30-minute workshop where we walk you through that before the next council meeting, or would you like it sent to you and you take a vote?
I think it would be good to sit and talk about it.
Okay, so I'm gonna do, can we, If we start at 6 o'clock, does that mess anybody up? Too bad?
On the 24th.
4th?
And the 24th is fourth Tuesday in October.
Okay, so we'll start at 6 on the 24th, and we'll take that first 30 minutes and do a STR workshop. Carrie and I will walk you through it, and then we'll have the, how about we just do, we'll do citizen input at the workshop. Then we will, in the November meeting, we will have the item on there in case there's any revisions to be made. We'll have the item on the November meeting with the revisions from the workshop. Does that work for y'all?
Yes, ma'am.
Maybe a 2-reading ordinance.
Yes. It will be. So we're looking at December to get it. One meeting October, one meeting November, one meeting December, so. Okay, the stormwater group, I know that there's been a lot of talk about when that's gonna happen. We had set our joint meeting for the 21st of this month. We've moved that off for a variety of reasons. The group meets on the 10th. We're gonna have, David Reed and myself are gonna have our proposed ordinances at that meeting. At that meeting, we will rectify the two, and then we will have our joint meeting towards the end of October, and I haven't picked an actual date, but I will. So the joint group meeting will be end of October. Everybody will have the ordinance as David and I and, sorry, I don't remember the engineer from Fulton's name, all agree on it. The navigation district will have had a copy and had their chance for an input as well. And then we'll have a joint meeting, more of a workshop, and let everybody get their say. The biggest thing that's going to be coming that's a change for us is we don't include a water quality element. So I think it's pertinent that at this time we add that. So that's going to be the biggest change for us, and you'll see that then. TML next week. I'm out all week at ICMA and then TML, and I'll see y'all all Wednesday, right? All right. Very good. I'll entertain any questions.
Any questions?
Just wanted to add for the record, thank you for the August financial reports that you provided us that you promised. Just want to make sure that's out there, that you did provide that.
Sure. You will get them at the end of every month by the second meeting in the month. They won't come from me always. They're going to start coming from Robbie because, I mean, he does them. So.
Any questions, feel free to ask.
Oh, we will.
All right. Number 27, reports from council.
I'm good.
Good.
I guess the only thing I have is I did go to the chamber meeting last week. They had the guy who does the oyster beds here, the farming ones, and they're asking the chamber to kind of help them with their promoting to the locals and to their community. So there was a presentation. If you guys don't know what's going on there, it's really taking to go and kind of learn about our new farming companies. We have a couple right now, I think, 2 or 3. And then the other thing is, I am having a meeting this week about a new subdivision that's coming into my area, and we are having a meeting to discuss, some concerns with the neighbors. So anyone on my board, if you're listening, we are having discussions, or we're listening to your concerns, and the developer and all around, and is listening. So please just hold tight, and we're working with you. So just want to have that out there.
We'll work it out.
I have nothing new. Do we need an executive session now?
We do, and we can either go back or we can kick Mike and, I'm sorry, I don't know your name. And we can kick these 3 people out. Okay.
City Council will hold executive
It's all right, they want to go back.
session pursuant to the provisions of Chapter 551 of the Texas Government Code in accordance with the authority contained in Section 551.071, consultation with attorney seeking the advice of attorney about pending or contemplated litigation or settlement offer on a matter in which the duty of the attorney of the governmental body under Texas disciplinary rules of professional conduct and the State Bar of Texas clearly conflicts with this chapter. Fong Nguyen et al. Versus City of Rockport Building Standards Commission, docket number 230151 in the 156th Judicial District Court of Aransas County. It is 7:20 and we're in executive session. It is 7:53, we are back in general session. I have a motion.
Mayor, make a motion to authorize the filing of legal action for unsafe conditions at West Terrace Unit 1, Block 3, Lots 6 through 25, also known as 1201 West Market.
I have a second.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further question or debate? Dollar. Call for a vote. Ward 2,
Aye.
Ward 3,
Aye.
Ward 4.
Aye.
Mayor, aye, it's unanimous.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Have a motion second to adjourn. Done.